This is the Simpit. I'm your host, Sean Cole. And the real star of today's show is this new concept. So I said it in the description of the show just to let you guys know what we're doing. I've been, for a long time, really thinking about the balance of content, short shows, long shows, thorough shows, more shows, less shows, all of that. And everything, time is money, production is time, and trying to figure out the balance to get the best sim racing coverage to you guys so that our show is successful. And so lately we've been kind of testing the length of reviews and how thorough or how to present. And one of the latest thoughts was to make our reviews a little more concise instead of being really repeating ourselves a lot, essentially. Kind of making it a little bit smaller, but by no means a short review. But that left very little time for just kind of being chill, hanging out with you guys and giving us some genuine, just heartfelt thoughts in the moment. So my latest idea, and I wrote it in the description how we're setting the scene for today. This is the Overpower GT Lite chassis. Now, we recently reviewed the Overpower Formula and GT, not the Lite variation, and as amazing as it is, or was, that rig, it was very, very expensive. I mean, there's no getting around how expensive that rig was, and it really left it as not a viable option for a lot of people. Now, they also make the Lite version of both their Formula and their GT position chassis. And I wanted to present them as well because, by contrast, they're actually very affordable. We're looking at €399, which is like $468 in the US. Now, shipping is going to be extra, and that'll always be a factor depending on where they're coming from and where they're going. But on its raw price, it's a very reasonably priced rig, and it's a one-of-a-kind when it comes to styling and just your concept of what a sim rig should look like. So, setting the scene, we have assembled the chassis. I filmed all the B-roll of, putting it together, making all the adjustments, getting everything dialed in and right. But I've yet to turn a lap. Now, despite having reviewed the Formula or the non-Lite version, we've gotten rid of, like, the metal deck. There's no longer an aluminum laser-cut anodized black wheel deck. It's now the same HPL laminate, high-pressure laminate board that the entire chassis is made out of. Same thing down on the pedal tray. There are a few things that are different down there. Down on the pedal area, and this is something here. Let me take this down. This is something, and this is why I want to do a live version of the show. The live version of the show allows you to get involved also and ask questions, so maybe there's something I haven't covered. That also gives me an opportunity to add elements to the review, because maybe you guys actually ask questions or bring up points that I might have missed, so you're actually helping me in the review process. But what this does allow us to do is to be a little more casual. So, for example, I can come over here and I can get my camera and I can show you what I'm talking about. So when I'm talking about the pedal tray, oh, I think I might have just, did I just turn off my camera? Oh, oh, you gotta be kidding me. I stepped on the cord or pulled the cord. So we are super casual, and I did have a hard time getting my cameras running today. Okay, forgive me. This is why we're calling this a test as well. I did want to find out what we could get away with or what limitations we would run into. There we go. We're back. Alright, I think all our videos are live. Excellent. And that does allow us to come over here and show you the pedals. If I can just not step on the cable, we'll be alright. But this whole pedal area has been replaced. What used to be a bunch of also aluminum, black anodized, laser cut metal that was unquestionably stiff, unquestionably rigid, beyond the needs of what we would need for sim racing. It's all been replaced with the HPL board in the same manner that we did on the wheel deck. And that means, again, a much, much, much lower price point. Get that back in a good shot for what we're doing here today. But yeah, we have the ability now to go in live and check things out and look at it. So, getting back to what we're doing. One thing I do say about this rig, I found it a little harder to get the adjustments right for the GT position. I think this thing is definitely favors and prefers the concept or idea of being a Formula chassis. And their seat is unusual and unique, but it does work very well. So here we are. We're ready to go. I have not really driven in this configuration, so I don't know. Am I confident in that? Let me alt-tab one more time, make sure everything looks the way I think it does. Bear with me. Okay, yeah, there we go. We've got the 3 cameras. Hi, hi, hi. And now we can go out and do a little bit of driving, and we can look for things. So what am I going to be critical of? I got this all set up and dialed in, but I haven't driven, which means I think the pedals are where I need them to be. I think the wheel is where I need it to be. But who knows? We might need to change it. The other thing we're going to be looking for is, does it wiggle? Does it shake? Does it operate the way we really want it to be? So I wonder if I leave this open. I don't really mind seeing that. Terry. Yeah, so I don't, hey, Alesh, hey, Brian. Yeah, we're doing Mossport and the Lotus again. I'm in the baseline setup. I should have downloaded our setup. So we're here really to test this rig more than drive the car, so to speak. My question to you guys is, again, I still want a decent audio-video mix. And I'm kind of testing, is everything look and feel right? Are we getting glitches? Been having some streaming issues. I should go download our setup. This one's junk. I can't really see my Apex with that screen open over there, but... Alright, so, again, we are not here to work on our driving. What we're here to do is look at this wheel deck. And are we getting wobble? Are we really configured and dialed in? I mean, it's actually a pain in the ass. Profile tubing is such a wonderful thing for making chassis. But it does have this one problem. And anybody who's ever worked with profile tubing knows what I'm talking about. Man, those little things like to stick in place, and they are not. The car is a little too loud or quiet. Seems random. Is it going up and down, or is it just because we're in the Lotus? So again, I lost my. I got caught up with that, but we're looking good. But again, the point is profile. That's where I was at. Profile is very difficult to make adjustments to. Once you've locked it in place, and you want to move like a deck or something, those little slot hardware do not just release. A lot of times the car is too loud or quiet. Seems random. Yeah. No, the mix. Thank you, Terry. So what I did find is like this wheel deck, and after we've driven, I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I found it very difficult to adjust up and down, and I mentioned this in the review, the previous review. And anytime I've worked with profile, it's not always the easiest to make adjustments for. So it was rather difficult to get this wheel. The other is I was very limited with where I wanted my monitor. I have the monitor at exactly the right height. And I'm pretty comfortable with the distance, actually. I actually like where I have my monitor placed very well. It left me very little room to get this giant podium base in there and adjusted without banging on the monitor. So this is the position where I kind of found I'm not touching it, I'm close. I ultimately might like the wheel a little teeny tiny bit higher and maybe a little flattened out, but I actually had a hard time making that adjustment. So we might try to make that adjustment after I've driven. We'll see if this is the right angle. Pedal distance I'm really good with. I had to, because again with the GT seat, I feel like without being laid out, it makes this rig an extremely long rig for when you get to more of a GT position. So in the Formula position, those pedals go a lot farther forward and come up quite a bit. And then you have that calf support mechanism. For me, being a little guy, I have these pedals almost as far this way, as far towards me as I can possibly get them. The wheel, I'm pretty good with the length, actually, the distance. I have it pretty pushed in pretty far, but I could get it further away, and I could get it a whole lot closer to me. So, alright, so with that said, let's focus first on, I'd almost tempted to bring that camera closer, Because what we're looking for is wheel deck stability. All right? I mean, you get a rig, comfort, entry, assembly, all that, that's one thing. But once I'm sitting here in my rig, because I don't care what I have to do to crawl in, to be honest with you. I mean, it sucks when a rig is real difficult to get in, but if you really care about driving in that rig, do you really care about what it takes to get in and out? So it really comes down to here. And am I adjusted the way I want for the best driving ability, right? Comfort, endurance, all of that. And once I am, if we can achieve that, that's one thing for a rig. But step 2, what's this deck doing? So I'm going to crank up the force feedback in a moment. We're not going to do quite a, but this is the kind of stuff. That's when you're going to get the most. And it, from my perspective here, it is looking pretty good. Hey, Scott Hughes. Oh, I have triple screen sitting right there. Sitting right there. I got a set of triple screens. Nope. But I do confess, there's something super clean about this curved. I mean, I really do kind of prefer triples still, especially the bigger you can get with the smaller bezels. But I actually do like this quite a bit too. All right. So back to it. We just cranked up the force feedback because we're not here for the drive. We're here for, whoa, well, we still have to do things certain amount of right. All right, so we're at pretty strong force feedback now. I mean, we're almost clipping on the podium. Yeah, it's yanking pretty good. So we are torturing this chassis right now. I can hear it, I think. I got my headphones on. Can you guys hear chatter of the chassis or the wheel? I mean, we are really cranked up. Do a little swerving up here. Now, for me, it's hard when driving. You know, this wheel's jumping and jittering, regardless of that. But I'm not really seeing much deck wobble. When I say much, I'm not really seeing any deck wobble. You know, driving hard to apex almost puts more load on the wheel than a crash. I mean, you can see right there. Whoa, 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 whoa. We're going to test that too, aren't we? Yeah, I'm not holding on with that level of force feedback, by the way. You'll have hand damage. So I got to tell you, can you guys see from our left view? I mean, you have pretty good angle. Do I need to move the camera closer, perhaps, to get to be specific? Maybe that's what we have to do. Like I said, we're testing. We're casual. We're going to do whatever it takes to get you guys the shots and the opinions you need on this particular show. I do have to take my headphones off to get to that camera. Hold on. Deck, not duck. Is that close enough? Hey, Mark. How you doing, buddy? Well, I figured this is obviously a test stream, but this is part of the new concept for the show. At the moment, hey Dan, at the moment that I have something ready to be tested, but before I've actually tested it, I want to go live at that moment to do my first thoughts. So this is sort of a redo of the Overpower because it's the light version, but it's so similar. Hey, Matt, thank you. This rig is really awesome. Because I'll tell you, those metal parts are nice and fancy, but they are super expensive. And this rig here is €399. Now, I had to add my own seat, but let's face it, you can get a plastic seat from Simpit for $40. Or you can get something like this from a junkyard or OfferUp or whatever, Craigslist, whatever your cheap product source is, garage sale, and you could probably get a seat for certainly under $100. I mean, I paid about $100 for this back then, and it served me years and years and years, and probably been on 8 different rigs at this point. But $399 no seat is the configuration that we're looking at, And what do so $399, and you know me, when I'm looking at a rig, I'm looking at aesthetics. I'm a big fan of rigs that look nice. This one's a home run. I mean, it's one of the best looking rigs I've ever seen. Stability is everything. I cannot stand rigs that wiggle, especially when they're considered premium rigs. I mean, I understand when you're in like a collapsible Challenger, you know, depending play seat, next level. I understand, right? I understand when you're in a super cheap beginner rig that there's going to be some wobble. Rip a seat from your Bentley. There you go. Hey, Tofi, how you doing? But for me, at €399, $468 US, this deck. I mean, okay, so forget driving. Let's just go back to, at this point, you can see that I am now almost flexing the wheelbase. Okay. I am seeing just a little tiny bit of lift right there. Can you see that? So right here at the middle point where all the holes are drilled. I mean, the pressure I'm putting on it is the kind of pressure that if someone came and did this to my steering wheel, quite honestly, I'd punch them in the face. Like, no, I mean, you don't get in and out of the rig by using the steering wheel, right? So when I'm putting that kind of pressure, I am now seeing just the slightest hint of flex. It's there. Can you see it? Do I have to go closer? I think we have to go closer. Let's see what we can do about that. We're having fun. So again, the format is this moment, the first impressions, first thought. When errors can happen, when mistakes can be made, when things can be broken or fail, this is the moment that I want to be live from now on. Like maybe just for an hour. You know, I haven't driven this rig. I've driven it in the expensive version. Speaking of Bentley, the Bentley variation. Okay, let's get even closer. I want you guys to really know what I'm talking about. This is us forming our thoughts for the review to come. All right? Oh, yeah, I am. Okay. There it is. Can you see it now? Oh, but I mean, the amount of pressure I'm putting on it is, I mean, now. Okay, now I'm getting a little bit of whole room wobble here, right? I would call this zero flex, by the way. I mean, okay, 9 out of 10. And the previous version was a 10 out of 10 with the aluminum deck right here. That would cost you a fortune. All right, I'm going to drive again with you guys right here. Okay, what to look for? Here. Whoa! I should reset this engine. These engines blow if they. Can you guys see? I might have to lower the camera. Can you guys see that you can't? Can you see the gap right here? If you can see it, you can see that my monitor is off by this much. It's a little higher on that side. Yeah, totally, Terry. Yeah, this is very impressive. All right. The Overpower is this rig. The chassis itself is Overpower. Ooh. I can do something like that, I think. Yeah, I mean, and the amount of, you can see the amount of force feedback we're using right now, right? I mean, like, 3 times what I would run. Okay, I mean, I'm okay with the angle, by the way. And if I could, there are 2 things that I would need to do. So, because of the weight of this steering wheel, it is impossible for me to loosen all 4 of these to make adjustments. I'm going to give it a go. I want you guys to see what I'm talking about. And this is one aggravating thing that I have found about all rigs. I mean, with the weight of a podium, quite honestly, it's almost impossible to make a deck adjustment with the weight of the wheel. All right? All right, so wasn't sure at first. Either may want to add rig in the title. Yeah, I usually run gloves. Now, these are faux leather grips from Pineapple. So these shouldn't wear out as fast as real leather because they're actually faux leather. So I can get away with some gloveless driving. Normally, especially if I'm using an Alcantara or a suede. So, okay, I just want to show you guys what a pain in the butt this is, though. This wheel is so heavy, and adjusting with profile is so difficult. Like right now, with just those released, I can't move anything still. I have to release all 4 of these. And then it's supposed to just slide, which it kind of does, but it kind of doesn't. So profile can be very stubborn sometimes. We're all right there. But if I try to do that angle, all of a sudden it starts locking up and doesn't want to really cooperate. And then the other, of course, is once you've done that, I'm trying to go up, which is pushing these rails forward, you can see. I need these back. My distance is actually with it closer to like that. So I now need to get this to come up. And now I'm hitting the wheel. And it just takes everything you've got. And then did you get the right angle? Whoa. No, it just slid down. Did you see? Lower the angle. I will not be able to get it to go the other way without loosening the front too now. Hey, Crisp, it is an awesome rig. The problem is the slot and groove stuff. And this is whether you're talking a full profile or just one that use try to lift up and slide. I always do to avoid scratches. Yeah, exactly. But it's very difficult, especially with the weight of a podium. So now I do have to redo again from the start. So for me, that is pushing it back in. And then lifting it as much as I can and getting a little bit of an angle and then lock it down. Hey, I think we got it. Wow, we are like kissing the monitor now. Okay, but I have to confess, that's... I have to confess, I think we nailed it. I seriously, like, it was just ever so off before, once I was driving it, and now that's our money. Now, right now, if I needed more distance, so that's the angle, and you could see we had a little bit of front to back just with these 4. I can loosen these 4 top screws, and now I can, on that angle, move back and forth. I think it was about 4 inches going by memory. So, but look at this. That is about where I like my steering wheel. Right that point right there. And then that gives me that kind of a version in a GT. All right, let's do a couple more laps with super duper. I'm trying to see it. I don't know if you... So the problem with the mallet is the interior nuts. It's essentially nuts that go inside the slots. They really tend to get hung up inside of there. And sometimes they just don't want to move or release. And a mallet will actually make that worse. It'll kind of like... Because they're at a strange angle is what's happening with tension. The other option, of course, would have been to put a mark where we were of some sort, just even a piece of tape. Remove this extremely heavy... I can't think of a wheelbase that's actually heavier than the podium. I want to put a flashlight in there and see if we're kissing or if we're just a hair off of it. Touching it. Okay, but I don't think it's gonna be a problem. I don't think the wheel deck doesn't move unless you flex it. I mean, so when I do that right there, I'm not seeing it move the monitor at all. So I think we're okay. Reset the car to not have a blown motor. Oh, I gotta tell you, I am really comfy. I am more of a, when it comes to my sim racing, I am much more of a GT position. You know, Formula 1 position makes total sense if you're driving a Formula car. A, you need to fit into the car. B, aerodynamic, and B, you know, I can't remember who it was who explained it, but when you're sitting upwards, G-forces have a lot, your upper half is under a lot more force than what's lower. The lower it is, the less G-forces affect it in terms of that pendulum. So when you're sitting in a GT position, if you are handling the type of forces that a Formula 1 car did, the amount of pressure to keep your body straight is just unbelievable. That's another reason they lay them down. But I'm not fighting G-forces in sim racing, and I can spend a lot more time in this kind of a position than I can fully laid down. And getting in and out is a factor. Like I said, I mean, if you're dedicated, you climb in any cockpit, right? No matter how difficult. Whoa. Okay, great question. Tofi, thank you so much. And that, again, that is the whole point of today. So we did have that accessory rail. I could bring it. It's just in the closet over there. And that accessory rail is going to set you back money. So if we go to our browser and I Alt-Tab so I can see what I'm doing. Alt-Tab. Alt-Tab. Okay, so what we have here is, here it is. Boom. So when I have this, I have it in, and I used it in the full review of the Cadillac, or it was the Bentley version of the OP chassis. I had a shifter on one of these, and I used the other one for my button box. I actually just double stuck taped my button box right to it, and it worked out great. Now when it comes to a keyboard, and you can see I have a tray over here, my Stream Deck, my mouse, and my keyboard sitting on that tray. Now, one thing, if you're not on camera, if you're on camera and trying to look good is one thing. But in the scenario of if this is my chassis at home, the ground is actually close enough to put a keyboard down on the ground and then just pull it up on your lap. The mouse would be a little bit difficult. If I didn't use such an extreme angle, I could put my mouse on this deck here. The only problem is it's pretty angled and it's going to slide down and my mouse is going to fall. The Stream Deck I could probably mount right here with no problem. Even in its angled mount, we could probably do something like this and use little double stick tape, and I think that would work out great. Actually, I could probably leave it there for the rest of the show. I doubt it. This will show you how much wiggle isn't there. We'll leave the Stream Deck right there for the rest of the show. James, I thought you'd love the yellow. That's totally your color, isn't it? By the way, that was an amazing start you got yesterday. I just want you to know. So, anyway, here is the Overpower chassis. This is the light version. So, if you remember, the last review was actually just the OP GT chassis. No, we have no mounting solutions for speakers. It is very old school cabinet-y. It definitely is. All right. Here, one other thing we could do if we wanted is we can do another driving session with this one a little more zoomed in. So we're not going to see the game, but you can get a better view of it in action. Here, I still want to be able to see my streaming. I don't have a second monitor set up on this, so I just want to make sure everything is still doing what I think. Let's go, Brandon! So the best thing you could look for right now is to see if any excessive shake. We have butted the wheelbase up to the monitor. So if anything crazy was going on, we'd be hearing it. And we'd be seeing it as a result of the monitor movement, in addition to the wheel deck movement. And I am not. The other thing that you would see is this camera right here is on top of the monitor, on top of the rig. So the other thing you could just be generally looking for is the vibration in that image to see what the overall rig was doing. And again, we have a lot of force feedback on the wheel right now. We're really close to clipping, just on turn in on heavy corners. Missing my marks, but we're not here to drive. We're here to test the rig. That is a good question, Tofi. It is a fairly heavy rig. Well, what? Okay, so PS4, good point. I agree on one hand. But we're at $468 as tested here. So what metal chassis can you get for $468 to be comparable? Because we're still not talking premium chassis at that point. We're talking, you know, sort of starter chassis. Alright, let's do some extremeness on that deck. Is that stream deck moving? Is that monitor moving? Nah. It's a stiff. Hey! Metal isn't flex free either, by the way.
You've got wheel damage.
Okay. The other option we have is this one, if you just want a really extreme close-up of the wheel deck. So look right here and see what's moving. Running a lot of force feedback. I'm still talking. The rig is very plain compared to my wheel, isn't it? Ooh, ah. Oh, that's good. Look at that. Ah. Okay. It's not all about the wheel deck. It's not. It's also about... So, we talked about the driving position. I'm getting sweaty, by the way. We talked about the driving position, and I am very comfortable. I feel like my wheel and pedal distance and angle, everything's spot on. I really am really happy. Footwork is going really well. I feel real happy. But I want to get the camera so you guys can see what's going on down there. And I'm trying to think the best way to do that is probably with this camera here on the tripod. So give me one moment. Yeah, so I believe Overpower actually does do vinyl. I'm not sure if they're stickers or wraps, but they do vinyl kits for this. Okay. It's feet time. It's time for the foot box. Okay. The pedal I'm using is a pair of Wave Italy with a very, very strong load cell on the brake pedal. Oh. I don't know why my trading paints didn't turn on. I have trading paints on, by the way. I don't know why. It was there earlier and now it's not, it looks like. No, that's my car. No, that's my stock car. I don't know why trading paints is being weird. But it is. Those are the brakes, I guess. Okay, now you guys can see the pedals in action. Again, so adjustment for me. I'm a little weird when it comes to pedals, I'll say. I tend to lift heels when a lot of people... Whoops. I tend to lift my heels more than a lot of other people. You can't really see my feet in this shot here. You can kind of see them over here. But so yeah, one thing, but what we're really looking for is when I'm operating this brake pedal, and you can see the amount of force. How much is that? I can see a teeny tiny bit of flex. We don't even really need a drive to test it. I mean, I always talk about things you can see versus things that you can feel. Heavy braking, trail brake. Whoa, whoa. I'm trying to read. Heavy brake. Lighten. I overslowed. I'm kind of missing something there. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Alright. Not a lot of braking here at Mossport, by the way. Certainly not a lot of heavy braking. Here's a good braking zone. I missed my mark completely. I'm gonna look over. I'm gonna just slam on the brakes here on the back stretch. Yeah, I can see it. It's there. Same sort of thing. I believe it's that middle point that's just starting to bow. Oh, so much. Allowing it to make that distance movement. It's very insignificant. My foot cannot tell that it's happening at all, so it hasn't. When you're on a load cell is all about pressure. So if there's a substantial change in pressure, it's almost like adding a second urethane. You know, so I believe I only have 3 bolts holding my pedals in. I can't tell from here. I just didn't have the clearance for a 4th bolt. I think we have to drill a hole. I think we have to drill a hole right now, to be fair. Thank you, Tofi. And that's what I'm talking about on this show. The new format moving forward. I get a new product. So for example, I'm going to finish up this rig in the next few days as far as the review goes. The next rig review is called Rock Solid Rig. And if you've not seen it, I'm not going to pull it up right now because it's the Overpower show. It is a very unique rig. And it will definitely, we'll definitely go into that one with some question marks, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I'll get my camera out. I'm going to film the unboxing. I'm going to film the assembly. I'm going to film putting my equipment on it and dialing it in, getting it so that it's the right dimensions for me. I'm going to make sure all my controls are mapped. And at the moment that we're ready to turn our first lap is when we're going to go live once again. And it's going to be live first impressions. Right now, we're learning about elements for the rig that go beyond just building it and getting it dialed in, getting it comfortable, getting it adjusted. Now we're getting into the driving aspect of the review, and this is where your guys' input goes a long way. So again, Tofi, thank you very much, because that's very relevant. I do only have 3 bolts. So what I'm going to do right now, and then, it won't take long to test it out in theory, I'm going to drill that 4th hole. And, I'm using a somewhat unusual set of pedals here today. So if you have something unconventional, you know, that's always a factor. I'll tell you what, I'd much rather have to drill a hole through this HPL board than drill a hole through an aluminum deck. And in this case, the hole is very, very close. Will I 3D print a rig? No, but I tell you what, one of the next things we are going to do when we get some free time is go into the next phase of the modern Deathmobile, and we're going to actually get some finishing work. We're going to put in some panels to make it look pretty. We're going to add some upholstery and padding to make it feel like a real car, and we're going to really start finishing off that rig coming up here too. So let me get that drill. Hold on one second. We're going to do the work on this show. We're going to do whatever it takes on this show to do this. I thought 3 would do, but apparently not. Alright, so we're going to go that side. I'm not going to be able to get it without removing the pedals? That might be the case. Nope, we're good. Where's my bag of spare parts? This one. Allen wrench. Bada bing. Alright, let's see if that makes a difference. Did we turn off any of our cameras? Yeah, we killed that one. Alright, we'll fix that real quick. I don't think Windows liked my camera. right, now let's see if that made a difference. Alright, here comes the braking zone. I guess we can do a static test before we're driving. Better? I think we maybe reduced it by a tiny amount, right? But it's still present. Or I think Tofi, what it is we got rid of the abnormal part, and I think you were 100% right. It was due to having that third bolt missing in the pedal plate. But the other part, the similar flex that we had here under extreme load, is now present. And you're not really going to find a much heavier set of pedals than this, by the way. This is about as heavy duty as it gets. Now, as far as angle and distance, again, in this GT position, I am just so comfortable right now. The backs of my thighs are nicely on the seat, and it's reducing the pressure of my heels, which both heels are comfortably on the heel plate. And the angle, yeah, I agree. I saw that too, Toby. Thank you. Good eyes, good eyes. And I gotta tell you, good position, it's not just about comfort. It's also your ability to ease that gas pedal on. The more comfortable you are in the rig, the easier it is to be smooth with your pedal inputs. Even if you're like me and a little erratic with the feed, and I admit I am a little bit erratic. I'm a little full throttle mash. I am missing that corner horribly. So, with that said, that pretty much takes us to what I wanted to cover. I mean, thoughts, opinions on the rig, questions on the rig. Again, we are looking at €399, $468 in the US, I believe, plus shipping. Which, without a seat, okay, I do have to add $50 to $100 to that. So it puts it right at about the 500, little over 500 range. There are a handful of rigs at $500, and I would say that none of them are remarkable chassis. The other nice thing I like about this is that, so if you got in on this level, and you then, here, let me go to my browser. I believe you can just upgrade. So, accessories, here's what I want. Awesome, thank you. Yeah, and so that's what we're doing. I'm getting out all my thoughts and opinions of what I would say in that final thoughts in the once, we're driving for the review. We made a final adjustment, which is really kind of important. We made a couple. See too many things to rant. Well, I'd like some of them. So here, now I believe we can buy the upgrades. Shop. So for example, there's Huisingveld base plate. You could buy that for those pedals specifically. They have, so they have a couple. So they do have one graphical option, and that's this one, the GSR, the German Sim Racing. Here, I think it says it here. German Sim Racing, just German Sim Racing. So that's a extra €169. so you can get that graphic. So yeah, I haven't seen the colors. They also do make it in red and in white. So there's the red version, yellow, there's black obviously, and white. Which I'm very intrigued by the Stormtrooper white. I like the way the other black parts accent it, so it's very much still a black and white rig. This is with this, of course, we're in the full, not the light version. We're in the full version. You can see the electronic adjusters and the metal parts here. Yeah, I think it's a reasonable price. I think in the light version it's a very fair price. I think in the other version it was a little bit of an extreme price, which meant it would be for, you know, certain particular people, chances are. So we talked about the monitor mounts. I thought you could buy, here, let me try to get back to where I was. Rigs, and what I wanted was here. Okay. No, this is what we're in. This is the HPL. Why would you need that on its own? I don't understand why you'd need that on its own. Okay, so here, Pedal Rack Pro. All aluminum. Everything here that's black is aluminum, and it slides on those rails. Now that still doesn't give you the electronic adjuster. But so if you got in on this and you were like, okay, well the pedal, I can live with the wheel deck flex. The pedal deck flex could be cured, but when you do this one, you also, it's on those linear bars for adjustment, and then it just locks down by hand, much like this does. And then the electronic adjuster is like another 139, if I'm not mistaken. We'll find that as well. It is very similar. You know, what's interesting about this board, you know, I've used a lot of different laminates, plywoods, and whatnot, and there's generally a certain texture to them. This stuff is so dense and so hard that it almost tricks my brain into thinking it's metallic. That's how hardened the wood is, this process, which is probably more glue than wood. But yeah, it's so dense that it feels like metal. It doesn't even feel like wood. It's the strangest thing in the world. Now here in the groove parts, it's a little bit different, but even then, it's still so amazingly rigid. So here, I thought, yeah, so OP pedal plate. So here's just the plate on its own. Is this the, yeah, this is the aluminum. So if you were to put that plate in, it's not the mount, it's the width of the plate that's allowing it to flex right here, much like this one was under our extreme load. It's just even a bigger plate, longer. So yeah, you could upgrade just that plate for 129, you know, after time. It's HPL. HPL. Mark, I just saw your comment. So, and here in the gallery, you can see that I think that you could probably arrange to have any graphic done. So that 169 price, if I'm not mistaken, you could have any graphic done on it. So here's the SimuCube version they used at a trade show. Here's the Mahindra version that Ollie ran when he was doing some work with Mahindra after that Formula E experience. FIA Rally Star version. Oh, look, a pink one. The monitor stand, integrated monitor stand. Mark, thank you for asking me that, because I might have accidentally somehow forgotten that as tested, we are also using the monitor stand. So we're using their single monitor mount, which is, oh, here's the electronic adjuster, 119. And here's the single monitor mount. which I really love. For this monitor, this is really slick way of mounting. It gives you a lot of adjustment. The arms come in 2 lengths, so with that 169, you get the short and the long arms, which do make a difference in how much it angles towards you or reaches. But you can see there are slots right here. Here, let me scroll up so you can see a little better what I'm talking about. Right here, you've got a few inches of you have a few inches of front to back right there. It's also got slots here the way it mounts to the top rail on the rig that give you a few inches of front to back there. In addition to that, this mount up here can be moved like 4 or 5 inches, the Visa adapter on its mount, for a fair amount of up and down. And then this cross piece of profile can be moved up and down about 3 or 4 inches. No, I don't think they have one to the wheel deck, Tofi. I do not believe so. Van, ARP or not, you know, this is the big question I have, or mystery, about Black Friday this year. I'm not sure that people are going to be able to do Black Friday in the way they've been able to do it, because we're having such a crisis of availability. So it's almost to the point when the next batch of things come in, I'm wondering if the prices aren't going to be yet again higher, and if they're going to be in limited quantities. Now, but if you were going to build your own, so Tofi brought up building your own profile rig, and when I say that, I mean not purchasing a kit from one of the people like a P1, for example, or Next Level now makes one, and Track Racer makes one, and so a lot of people are making packages. But from what I've seen, most of the profile chassis tend to get to $1,000 very quickly. So I think you're talking a little bit more money, and maybe not necessarily in the same class. Now, on the other hand, and what I've always been an advocate for, building it out of aluminum, getting your profile and just kind of doing it yourself, which is totally doable. So, but with the monitor stand on aluminum, you have to pay for that as well. That's not usually included in the price in all cases and scenarios. So as tested with the monitor stand, we are looking at 169 on top of 399 is 499, 568 euro, which is $659 here in the United States. It's availability as much as anything, Tofi. I'd love to get a CSL in here, and I was going to buy one. So yeah. Yeah, Sammy, and I've worked my share of expos, and so when I reviewed the Bentley version, so what I have already reviewed as far as Overpower goes, here, let me get out of the car, then we will bring this stream to a close, but when I reviewed the Cadillac of models, let's say, it was the OP formula, not the light variation. So I've tested this version here, and I had everything on it, every accessory on it, and it was awesome. But how I don't move my pedals. I mean, like, even if someone came and tried my rig, chances are, especially with the GT, that's probably going to take care of both. I mean, generally speaking, most cars don't allow you to adjust the pedals maybe a little bit with the wheel deck or wheel in a real life car forward and backward. So yeah, it's not really needed. It's a nice bonus, but not needed. Yeah, well, and Brian, so when I consider an 80/20 rig DIY for myself, you can cut it to whatever angle you need it to be if you want to get fancy. The other is you can make your own or just use any brackets that fit the job to accomplish some of the fancy stuff. And then lastly, it's not super duper hard to have those things made for you. Contact a local metal shop, give them a rough design of what you're looking for, and they can make you a set of brackets for 40, $50, including powder coating, pretty easily. Mark, that's an area that's so hard for me to judge. When you say a word like that's a lot of money, money is the most relative thing there is to talk about. So to some people, $200 or $300 might be a lot of money, and to others, $200 or $300 might be nothing. For somebody, the difference between models of $200 or $300 might be not a big deal, and for others, it might be another 6 months of saving. So it's really hard for me to really put a finger on value other than sort of point out the other commons of what you could get. €400. Now, what did they charge more than that for that rig now, though? Speed Force. So the other thing, I mean, for me, I'll tell you what. You build yourself an industrial profile rig, and then try to put it into a elegantly designed room, and it might not always look in place. I mean, I'm going to give this rig the fact that it is a lot better looking. Now, maybe not with my seat adaptation. That was something else I haven't mentioned to you guys. My seat rails, my seat sliders are actually longer than the deck that they have on the rig. Here, let me go to the other camera real quick. So if you can see right here, my seat sliders start right here, and they end right here. And that is about 2 inches longer than the deck that it sits on. And therefore, I had to use some sticks of, speaking of, 80/20 profile. And that did raise the seat 1 inch. And it also gave it a very unesthetically pleasing extra of these silver sticks sitting here, which I'm not a big fan of. But again, now the cost totally changes. But if we went to the OP Formula Lite, we're now at €600. And that is pretty much the difference. I'm not going to bring the other one in. It's holding crap. You can probably see it in the background there. That's the Formula chassis sitting right there. Yeah, Speed Force, it's a real problem right now. Yeah, that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. So, Ultimate F1 would be a casket. I think we've seen that on our show coming to us out of a Reddit post or something. So, all right, you guys, it's lunchtime for me. I hope you enjoyed the concept of what we're doing with this particular stream. If it works for the future, we'll keep doing it. It was just sort of another brainstorm with our production team to kind of figure out the best format to do things. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go film some actual driving B-roll. We're going to then write down our thoughts based on driving the rig and based on a lot of the questions and comments that you guys have made. That's the key part of this, is you guys have given me perspective. We've had discussions about pricing and wobble and all of those good things. So, and reminded me of other things. Thank you, Mark, for hey, don't forget you are using a $169 monitor stand in this equation. So yeah, again, we will be doing this. So the next thing up will be the full review of the light version with the Formula seat and the GT seat. And then in addition to that, what we're going to do is we're going to get that rock solid rig built up and dialed in, and then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go live with that. And I got to tell you, I haven't even opened the boxes yet, but I already have a lot of questions about that rig. It is unique. It is absolutely, if you thought this was unique and one-of-a-kind rig, just wait until you see that one. It is a trippy rig, and if you want to check it out, you can. And then you'll know what we're going to have coming in the near future. Anyway, thank you all. Thank you guys for the great comments, great questions, and making this a really good test show to find out if it's going to work in the future, and I think it will. So thanks for that as well. You guys all have a great rest of the day, and we'll get this review cranked out as quick as we can. Also, just to let you guys know, tomorrow we do have a very special interview. So if you haven't, of course, be sure to subscribe to this channel so you can get notifications of when we get live or when we have new videos coming out. Have a great day. This is the Simpit. I'm Sean Cole, and I'll see you on the track.
You